Oh, Link is officially in bed for the first time in this tournament.
All right. So, we start off in Escape. Do you want to talk about pumping?
Who really does ever? No, definitely not right now.
Okay. So basically, we start off with the Escape segment, which anybody that's played A Link to the Past knows. Anybody that's played any Zelda game knows. For whatever reason, these games always start with an elf in bed getting woken up in the middle of the night. And then from there, we will be following the voices in our head and going to save a princess.
Yeah, so this is no major glitches category of A Link to the Past, which means we can't do any of the fun glitches that allow us to skip a large portion of the actual game. No major sequence breaks is kind of a better term for it. So any of the major glitches that you might see in some other categories will not be present here, but minor ones are totally okay.
Yep. So we joke about it pretty much during every race, but you know, early in the game you don't have boots and you can't really go all that fast. The only thing that you can really do to go fast is something called pumping. Basically, if Link is facing north or west while moving, you can mash a perpendicular direction to help get tiny little speed boosts. There's much more to it than that. Subpixels are involved, but for the purposes of this discussion, that explanation should suffice. So we are making our way through the escape on our way to the dungeon to rescue Zelda. Basically have to just avoid some green guards, and then we've got a quick kill coming up on a blue guard that should be no problem for either. The idea is to spin that blue guard. Zelda's going with a safer strat.
Got a bonus item already.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the randomizer tournament. That is bonus DLC.
Maybe he was afraid of getting lost, you know.
He might be.
You do have to come back through here, so it could be easy to get turned around, you know.
It is. Zelda obviously has been participating in a lot of the randomizer tournaments. I don't think that maybe that'll be the last DLC chest, but who knows. TGH getting the other quick kill on the blue guard, and he's got a boomerang and a key. Making our way through. By the way, I guess I should mention it just in case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard. At the same time that this tournament is happening, signups have started for the 2018 Spring Randomizer Tournament, and I'm pretty sure they broke challenge within 5 seconds of that starting up, so that's another thing that you might be interested in. TGH getting to the ball and chain guard, making quick work with him with 8 slashes. Xelnas getting him into the corner and taking his time a little bit, but he dispatches him and has a key. TGH has a girl and a lamp, and we're off.
Having both of those items is far more important than you would think, because skipping either one of them, once you try to move the what would you call that in the throne room? The mantle. The mantle, yeah. Once you try to move that in the throne room, you're going to find out very quickly that you're unable to do so, as some of our fellow runners recently in some practice races have discovered.
Yes. If you have the girl but not the lamp, she tells you that it's dark. If you have the lamp but not the girl, you just stand there like a big dumb elf and can't do anything. So our racers are making their way back up through the dungeon, back to the throne room, and on their way to the sewers and eventually the sanctuary. So, I'm assuming since you're here, you've probably played A Link to the Past before, or at least a Zelda game. Wow, Zelda's going full-on Japanese strats. We're seeing right side escape.
Interesting that he didn't... Did you take the right side on the way there and I just missed it or something?
He did not. He did not.
I think the main reason that we do left side now as opposed to right side is because the pumping up and to the right is a little bit easier just in terms of technique than pumping to the left, which you would do if you went on the right side.
Correct.
But in terms of the time difference, it's really not that much at all.
Yeah, in fact, if you watch a lot of Japanese streams of this game, you'll find that a lot of them do right side escape, and it just seems to be a preference thing. But so yeah, if chances are, if you're here, you've watched or played a Zelda game before, but just in case you haven't, the general idea is Link wakes up in the middle of the night, hears voices in his head telling him to go rescue a princess who says that, hey, there's this guy named Ganon and he's causing some trouble. So we've got our princess and we are going to try to save Hyrule from... just going to take her word for it. You know, we're assuming she's an honest princess, and we're going to go start trying to wreck some of Ganon's stuff.
Gotta get that lore. Alright, so we're
Gotta get the lore.
Key rat now. Tej got a northwest key rat. Looks like Xelnas got the same thing, but decided to kill a few more rats in that room. That's kind of one of the biggest points of escape that can change the final time. But in terms of escape times, really it's just a matter of frames here and there, usually in each room. But the biggest modifiers of your time are going to be that key rat room and the ball and chain guard itself. But in terms of the overall run, really not too important of a segment. Correct.
It's the escape serves as a barometer for how well somebody has mastered the movement of the game, but nobody has ever, you know, escape doesn't make the runner kill it. So.
Also, no save and quit is not allowed in this category. So if it were, you would see everyone saving and quitting after escape right here, and then starting from Link's house and going to Eastern. But we do not allow that in this particular category. It was kind of a decision that was kind of baked into when the weekly race started years and years ago by the ancient ones, such as Christos Owen. But it does kind of make for a much more quote-unquote natural run. You know, the flow of it is just a lot easier to follow, and you're not just breaking the sequence everywhere. And you get to see a lot more of the overworld than you would normally.
You also get the benefit of a heart refill after each dungeon, as opposed to starting from a save and quit where you have a specific number of hearts based off of how many you have. Speaking of hearts, both of our racers did pick up the Sanctuary heart. It is the only heart container that you get outside of boss fights, and gives you a heart refill after escape, and also just makes things safer. You might see it skipped in some of the races with higher seed players, but generally in a tournament, everybody will get it. So TGH is here in Eastern Palace, and Xelnas is making his way to the front door. And here in Eastern Palace, you're going to see coming up the first real trick, so to speak, of the run. TGH is making his way into a room that normally you would see 4 skeletons in, but by moving up, left, and down in a specific spot, he can throw the pot right and left before those 2 skeletons spawn. The top and bottom ones spawn out of the room and on a pot, respectively, and thus they never appear, letting you kill 2 and move on.
Yeah, it's kind of the first quote-unquote trick that we sort of see in this run, and you're just kind of abusing the area that Link has to walk into to actually trigger the spawns of the Self House.
Yep, so we're seeing it here from Xelnas now.
Yep, nicely done.
Yep. TGH is making his way into the Dark Key room. There's a key under a pot. Let's see, there's a few different ways you can do this room. He's just taking it safe, and you can do some swaggy stuff with the boomerang, but I think you'll see probably that same technique from most people.
Another trick coming up here from Tej is going to deboost off of the Popo here and get iframes, and use those iframes to get past the anti-fairies. And as soon as those iframes run out, he presses the switch underneath the anti-fairies and then gets damaged back out. So another cool trick that we use to avoid having to kill every single enemy in that room to get the anti-fairies to fly away and press the switch.
Yes, it is a much slower room if you do it the old-fashioned way. TGH making his way to the main room, gets the bow, and we are off to the basement of Eastern Palace. Xelnas getting that big key. Oh, I guess it's not the basement. I guess you're going upstairs. I never noticed that.
I always found that so weird that you're going upstairs. Like, to me, with all these enemies up here, especially the Armos that are bouncing up and down all the damn time, you gotta think, like, the structural integrity of that floor has to be just impeccable.
I would imagine so. They must have a good building department in Hyrule. So TGH making his way through the Zelda gamer room, making quick work of the two skeletons of Red Igor. Also got to keep an eye on your rupee count, but TGH gets that red rupee there, and he should be all set for his rupee route once he gets the tree rupees, and he's making his way into the Armos fight. So, standing up here in the top right, you can fire 5 arrows quickly to the right, move to the top left, fire a bunch more down, and quickly dispatch the Armos. I don't know if you saw it, Xelnas stuck an arrow.
I did see that. It was like he was wearing a little bell on him so he could like see where he was in the dark. That was great. But yeah, that Armos quick kill involves putting 3 arrows will kill each individual Armos. So what you do is you put 2 arrows into one of them and then leave that one for the very end so that as you're killing the second to last one, you can just fire 1 more arrow to kill the very last one to avoid him changing into red, which regains his health entirely. And then you have to kill him with even more arrows, or if you happen to run out of those, some slashes.
Yep, Xelnas actually making pretty good work at the Zelda Gamer Room. So, real quickly, I mentioned the rupee count. Coming up, once we get to the Dark World, the first dungeon in the Dark World has an admission fee, apparently, and it's there's a little monkey outside that acts as a gatekeeper. He, for some reason, you have to pay him 10 rupees to follow him and 100 rupees to open it up. So we need to make sure that by the time we get through the Light World, we have 110 rupees. Xelnas, by the way, taking an easier approach to Armos, but not much slower. Definitely a valid technique. But
Yeah.
we have to make sure that we have 110 rupees by the time we get to the front door of the first Dark World dungeon. So coming up, there will be some tech involving pulling on trees to get most of our rupees, and we'll cover that when we get there. Meanwhile, TGH, having just picked up a fabulous necklace from the Eastern Palace, went off and picked up some matching footwear from an old cowboy in a house. So now he can run fast, because that's how things work in this country.
You get better shoes, you go fast, right? That's how it works. That's what I always thought as a kid, for sure. Like, if you got better shoes, you'd be able to run faster and jump higher. That's how it works.
Speaking of picking up those shoes, Xelnas has them, and he's going to use them to bonk into the back hole of Sahasrarla's house, and he's going to pick up his rupees. This is the slower but much safer method of getting the rupees that you need for Palace of Darkness. It saves it costs about 6 seconds over what you'll see TGH do, but it is 100% consistent. Those chests don't hurt.
Yeah, I was taking those rupees for a long time. It's really not a bad time loss at all. Like you said, it's about 6 to 7 seconds at best on average with the way that, you know, people normally do it. It's more like 3 to 4. So taking those chests in the back of Sahas Hut is a completely valid way of getting your necessary rupees.
All right, so TGH, now that he is in chat, I do want to make sure that we do get a chance to thank Big John for the layout. But TGH is here at Desert. So you just got those boots, and the game is going to make you use them. So Desert Palace has a lot of wide open spaces. You are basically just dashing from room to room. Not a whole lot of obstacles in your path. But you also, similar to the book, you have this key that you have to bonk off of, but by abusing how the game looks for that bonk, you just need to bonk nearby, so you can glance off the torch, bonk into the wall, and set yourself up to pick up the key a little bit faster. Meanwhile, Xelnas has the book and is on his way to Desert. TGH making his way into the cannonballs. There's about 32 different patterns of the cannonballs, each one a little bit different from the other. He gets one of the bad ones that caused him have to stop his dash halfway through, but gets through cleanly. Meanwhile, Xelnas is making his way to desert. And TGH, he's got the necklace, he's got the boots, you've got to get some matching gloves, all set up for a night out on the town. There they are.
All right, you think Tej is going to go for Desert 2 spin speed?
You know, I don't... I'm going to say
he's gonna
yes.
do it. I think he's
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, he's going for it. All right, so this is a kind of a risky spin speed, but with that pause buffer to the lamp there, it's a little bit safer because you can stop yourself from running off the edge, which is an incredible time loss. But that spin speed does save about 40 frames, so...
we forgot to explain spin speed. So, this is the Japanese 1.0 version that we run on, and when you say no major glitches, that implies that there are some minor ones. And the first one is what you just saw, spin speed. If you charge up your sword, and on the first frame after you release the spin, you tap A, you will be put into a weird glitch state where you can no longer swing your sword, but if you touch manual stairs, like those leading out of the first half of Desert, you gain the dashing speed, but you get free movement in all directions. So we'll use that periodically throughout the run to go faster, and we'll cover the other minor glitches as they come up. TGH, by the way, making his way into Landmolas, and Xelnas is a big key. Landmolas is the worst boss in the light world. It is pure RNG, and it is pattern mitigation.
Yeah, it certainly is a lot of RNG, and it takes a ton of practice and time to get good at reading the patterns and dealing with them appropriately. So this fight can definitely be one of the great equalizers of the run, but Tej handled it very, very nicely there.
That was a solid Armos fight, a late 3 cycle from Tej. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that every time for sure. 2 cycle is one of the best fights you'll probably ever see in an actual human RTA run. 3 cycle is a really, really good fight still, and then 4 cycle I would still take every time. Once you get past that, it starts hurting a little bit. You're losing about somewhere around 6 seconds, I think, for each cycle, something like that.
Yeah, about 6 seconds. And apparently I said Armos, Landmolas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so Xelnas making his way through the back half of Desert. Meanwhile, TGH is on to perform the second minor glitch of the run. So this is called fake flippers. Basically, if you can jump into the water and be 1 frame's movement away from the edge of the screen transition, you can transition before the game checks to see if you have flippers, and then it will allow you to swim, letting us take this warp and saving about 6 seconds of overworld travel. But the challenge there is if you get... Ooh, nice arrow by TGH, reading that RNG properly. If you do get hit while you're in the fake flippers state, the game does not know what to do with you, and you can soft lock. We've put in a rule in this tournament to mitigate that. You can save and quit after a fake flipper's mistake, but you have to go back to Link's house, and you will end up losing some time. Meanwhile, Xelnas is making his way into the Landmolas fight. I know my bosses. So each of the 3 Landmolas takes either 4 arrows or 8 slashes to dispatch. And they can give you some awful patterns where they will just short hop in a bad direction. Putting 3 arrows in that. We're a little bit low on. Meanwhile, TGH getting the Death Mountain spin speed here. Xelnas down to 1 worm left. Ooh, gotta stand a little off center.
Looks like Tej is having a really clean Death Mountain so far. He hasn't taken any damage, which usually when you're walking into Hera, you're at least missing a few hearts.
Meanwhile, shoutouts to Blunt Bunny. And Xelnas cleans up Landmolas.
So Tej is in Hera now, and Hera can be kind of one of the first painful points of the run for all skill levels. This dungeon can just go poorly in a number of ways.
Yep. And of course, now TGH is entering the funnest room in the light world, the Hera tile room. Let's see if he goes for the boom dash.
Looks like he's setting up for it. Yep, he did the boom dash directly above the switch, which is valid, but if you do end up hitting that crystal switch accidentally and not getting the dash off or something, you're going to end up losing time attempting the boom dash in that scenario, because you have to then wait for the idle frames of the crystal switch again. But getting this is really nice because you can just stand on the pegs with iframes.
And that is our third minor glitch that you're going to see in the run, which is item dashing. You are able to start a dash and fire an item off on the same frame. In that case, we did the boomerang and a dash, allowing you to throw the boomerang in one direction, dash in another, so you could hit the switch while standing on the pegs.
Also another item dash you can do in that torches room. I don't know if Tej did it there, but you can torch dash as well. It's pretty fun.
All right, Xelnas, a little bit risky on the swim, but made it through, and he is on his way to Hera. Meanwhile, TGH is visiting John, Paul, and George, the Beatles. Hiding over in the other room are Ringo, Pete Best, and Yoko Ono. And see you later. Nobody cares about you.
Still with full hearts, too, all the way through Hera. So not even needing to hit the safety switch or anything. Going to take this top pot here and set up for the bomb jump, which is another one of the big tricks that lets us save a lot of time in this dungeon. Instead of having to fall into the room from above to get the moon throw, we can use that bomb to boost us across the gap. And you saw Tej doing kind of a unique setup there, which is a pretty unique yeah, I just said that it's a unique setup, but it's a relatively recent find for that setup. When you're releasing your spin and you're slipping on the edge of a pit, when you get back from that edge, you will actually be placed on the first pixel away from the edge, so you know that you can always get the boost across the pit without having to bonk. You only need to be 2 pixels away for that to happen. Otherwise, you need to be 6 pixels away for the bonk to work.
Yep. And I believe, and I'm awful at pronouncing names, I believe it was Zaskos that found that. It's a, like you said, it's a relatively recent find, and somebody can hopefully give the correct name in chat to give credit, but
I'm not sure if that was him or not. Yeah, Eshkos and I think Tosho have been doing a ton of work and finding things in this game. It's still amazing that even after all this time, we're still finding new developments and setups and things for tricks in this game.
There was just a really fast Moldorm fight that happened, by the way. That was an excellent fight by TGH. Looks like Xelnas is making his way through Hera. Now, we talked about the rupee route earlier, so we're going to see TGH pull on some trees. So he's going to pull on this first tree, and he's going to get 4 blues because he has killed 4 enemies, but he has taken damage. Doing that resets a counter of how much damage you've taken and how many enemies you've killed. He needs to kill 4 more enemies and pull another tree without taking damage, and that will get him red rupees. And that will bring him to 120, which will be enough to get into pod. Meanwhile, Xelnas is hanging out on the pegs, taking a break in the tile room. Nice little input break, one of the few that exists in the run if you can get it. TGH, meanwhile, with the 2345 Master Sword. That is a solid time.
Yeah, very good time. I don't even know that I've ever gotten a sub 24 Master Sword. Maybe one in my entire life.
Same.
So something to note, though, in that tile room, by switching to the bow and arrow there, and then now switching back to the lamp here, you're actually adding another menu, and you're also wasting an arrow, so you're not actually saving any time. It's a nice break, sure, to sit on the tiles. If you really just want to build that into your run, that's totally fine, but just be aware you're not actually saving any time with it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning, unless he's been playing off-stream, this is TGH's first run in a minute.
Yeah, I haven't seen him playing in a while. He's been on that Celeste grind for a while. Oh,
Xelnas with a nice alternate strat in the Beetle room. It's much safer, but a little bit slower getting the spin. Meanwhile, TGH has his 4 reds, and he is off to Agahnim. And Xelnas is making his way upstairs, hitting the safety switch that will allow him to pick up some hearts before the Moldorm fight.
Yeah, with his health, that's a very, very good decision, I would say. Didn't pick up the pot and the heart right below that, though. Looks like he's gonna grab the Moon Pearl by falling from above. Probably partially to do with how low his health is, I would imagine.
Yep. Yep. All right, so TGH is making his way into Aghanim's tower, and Xelnas is making his way onto Moldorm. So TGH is going to do a quick kill here, found by a Japanese runner named Pui, gets a spin and 2 arrows and a double spin, and 2 gold knights dispatched. Now, in this room, he's going to kill these 2 blue guards with a dash. Killing those blue guards with a dash means that they will not drop any items, and that is actually preserving a fairy drop and a heart drop for Turtle Rock, which is a much more useful place to get them, and we'll talk about that when the time comes in Turtle Rock, where that fairy drop happens. Meanwhile, Xelnas was having a good Moldorm fight, but got quick turned by Moldorm, and got tossed off. Unfortunately, getting thrown off in the Moldorm fight resets Moldorm's health, but we are going to have a go at it again. We got to stay away from that center hole. It is not a place that you want to spend a whole lot of time. Takes you down.
What's down there, Scrivo? I think you would be pretty aware of
I have not been knocked down the center hole in like 6 months.
Before that happens in your race later today.
Yeah.
Not that I wish that upon you or anything. Xelnas takes another fall, but he's still got...
But he's got to watch out for these beetles, because he's down to half a heart. He does not realize
he's not going to grab the heart pots. Okay, now he goes back downstairs. He's like, wait a second here.
Meanwhile, TGH...
This guy's going to one-shot me.
Making his way through Aga's tower. He is entering a room called Circle of Pots. There's 2 red guards. He's going to mitigate the first one with the boomerang, throw 2 pots down, boomerang and key, grab some arrows. He also picks up some rupees that he would normally need for the rupee route, but he got some friendly drops, and that was a really good Circle of Pots room.
Yeah, so TG is going to be coming up on the Agahnim 1 fight here, and this is the main source of RNG in the any % NMG run. Agahnim himself can... he does a very specific cycle of attacks. The first attack that he always does is an energy ball. The next 3 after that are 50-50 coin tosses as to whether you get an energy ball that you can actually reflect or a blue ball that you cannot. And if you get blue balls, obviously that's a time loss that you just can do nothing about. So we'll see what Tej is able to get here and how Aga's feeling today. So get your guesses in.
Third time was the charm for Moldorm. Xelnas cleans him up. I think during the Agahnim fight, it's probably worth mentioning. So TGH started playing Link to the Past. And of course, people knew him already from Undertale and knew him from Link's Awakening. But he started playing Link to the Past in mid-2017. And he actually was the fastest player ever to get to 125. We saw him submit his first run to the leaderboards. We went and got a cup of coffee, came back, and he had a 125. It took him a few, like maybe 2 months to get to 125, and it was ridiculous improvement. Just really impressive. So
that looked like a rather low amount of blue balls. I only saw 1, but
I saw 1 as well.
Okay. That's really good. Less than 3 is really good because as soon as you get 3 blue balls, you're going to get an extra lightning attack. Yep. So that's yet another time loss that you can do nothing about.
Yep. 28 on the pyramid. 28 minutes on the pyramid. So we're having a 29 light world. Meanwhile,
casual sub 30 light world.
Yeah. Xelnas, by the way, picking up a stray fungus in the Lost Woods. He is going to exchange that later on for a bag of powder that will certainly make the rest of the run a little bit safer. You do not need to read the pedestal, Xelnas. You do not need the book in this situation.
He's just trying to give us the lore, that's all.
I promise you, it's just going to give you the sword. Meanwhile, TGH getting the spin speed coming off the pyramid, and he is on his way to Palace of Darkness.
So Dark World, in my opinion, is where the run really kicks in to high gear, and you start seeing some really impressive movement tech, as well as some very strenuous boss fights that will hopefully be well executed by these runners.
Yep. By the way, there is our favorite greedy little monkey, Kiki. He tells you that he'll follow you for 10 rupees. For some reason, you decide that's a good idea, and then he tells you he'll open the dungeon for 100. And
probably a really smart slash there by TG. He ran into the hedge a little bit, so I think he was a little afraid that the Ropo was gonna jump onto him. If you get hit while you have Kiki in tow, you have to pay him 10 rupees again.
Yep. So we had mentioned that TGH was one of the fastest improving players ever. This is a really large tournament. We had 128 entrants. We had about 50 people that signed up, but either that signed up on top of that for the wait list after factoring in drops and people that couldn't make it for the tournament. It was like 170 or 180 people, but that means a lot of people decided to learn the game for this tournament and learn the NMG run in particular. And I believe Xelnas was one of those that had dabbled in NMG before, but had never really given it much a look. He's more of a randomizer player, so he is, he has pretty much learned this route in this category specifically for this tournament. So all things considered, we're seeing a pretty good showing from both competitors. TGH in Palace of Darkness going to pick up some keys. Now he got one in the basement. He's going to blow up this floor and go get the big key. And he also got the right side key already. Meanwhile, Xelnas serving up some Din-Din and unfortunately released the spin a little early, firing off 2 arrows to clean it up. TGH has the big key, and we are off to the first really kind of... we're coming up on the hammer jump. So anybody that's seen an NMG run, of course, you know what the hammer jump is. If you've never seen a run of this category, basically what they're going to do is they're going to place a bomb on a specific y-axis coordinate. They're going to move Link to another specific y-axis coordinate and let the bomb blast clip you through a railing. TGH is also going to plant a second bomb and throw that across to blow up the hole. We use buffers here to get on that specific pixel. He's got the one bomb, he's got the other across, and he is getting in position for the blast. And that is it. Very nice. Meanwhile, Xelnas is making his way through Agahnim's tower, cleaning up the red guards with the arrows. And we're coming up on one of the funner rooms. There's a few of them throughout, but the Mimics rooms.
Yeah, the Mimics rooms are really fun rooms to practice and optimize. They're also really, really difficult to do so. Mimics themselves are very interesting creatures. They do mimic your movement, but they'll walk in the opposite direction of whatever direction Link is currently walking or pressing an input. He doesn't necessarily have to be walking. You can actually manipulate mimics during a variety of actions, which includes bow animations, sword slashes, dash charges. Any of these things will work. So it's really cool to see the variety of mimic strats that you can actually employ and still get really, really solid room times. So yep. I love mimic rooms.
I believe the green mimics copy you and move in the same direction, and the reds move in the opposite direction. But you kill them so quick, and these are really the only green mimics I think that you have to deal with, that you don't even really get a chance to see them move. Meanwhile, TGH dispatching of the turtles. No turtle party today.
All right, we're going to be heading into the Helmosaur fight here. It's going to take 17 hammer hits to get his mask off, and then we will likely see from Tej, he's going to probably go for hammer hits on the second phase as well when Helmosaur's mask is actually broken off. which will do the same amount of damage as 2 slashes or a spin would do. So he's probably going to go for 3 hammer hits and then try to release a spin. And this is actually very precise in terms of the hitbox on Helmasaur. Very nice fight, very nice fight. He got pretty good RNG without getting fireballs during that last part on the second phase, but very nicely handled fight by him.
Yep. So those fireballs, they have, I believe, a 50-50 chance of going off at each opportunity that they can. And it's random which one explodes first, but from there they will go in clockwise fashion. Xelnas cleaning up Agahnim, by the way. So yeah, if you know that and you keep an eye on which one's exploding first, you can also get your 17th hammer hit while a fireball is on the screen, and the destruction of the mask will actually despawn any fireballs on screen.
Alright, so Xelnas is officially out of Light World and can begin the fun part of the run now.
Yep. Meanwhile, TGH is going to make a couple of stops to get a shovel, get a flute, and get a duck. And then we'll be on to the next dungeon.
Wow, Xelnas just did something that I have literally never seen before.
The spin speed?
The double spin speed on the pyramid. Swag, swag, swag.
Swag for days. Taking a little bit safer path through the Dark World minefield.
Yeah, Xelnas is, he has 0 arrows here, which is a slight concern. There are a few spots in Pod where you can grab arrows. One in particular is after the bombable floor that you fall into. The 2 pots at the bottom there, one has a 5 arrow and there's also a bomb down there, so maybe he'll grab those. There's also the pots in Mimics, but obviously you need 1 arrow for the crystal switch and then 5 more arrows for Mimics at least, so you kind of want at least 6 coming in here.
Yep. Ooh, TGH, or not TGH, Xelnas almost lost his monkey, which would have been a problem since he didn't have enough rupees to get him again. Meanwhile, TGH is getting a shovel.
Looks like, okay, I'm not sure. Looks like TJ has a slightly different setup for this quick warp. I thought he was going to go for a quick warp here, and what that does is if the camera is aligned in a very specific X coordinates, then you will actually reduce the warp animation by 34 frames. So each quick warp that you can actually get saves about half a second, which is an insanely large amount of frames to save for something so simple as just, you know, aligning the camera correctly and walking into a warp.
TGH, or Xelnas, remembering that he has the Mire. Well, wow.
Teach. My man.
What happened
Usain
was...
Bolt, not only the fastest guard in Hyrule, but apparently one of the deadliest too. Almost takes out Tej single-handedly.
We might see some apples get baffled, because that guard...
That guy is like impossible to get away from though. Like if he hits you once, it's almost game over. Like if you try to fight him or like start another dash or anything like that, it's just, you're gonna leave that. You're gonna have headaches.
Yeah, it's close quarters. He moves really quickly. And the one thing that you learn when playing this game is Link is not particularly good at combat.
He skipped the apples. He's not getting the apples.
The madman, the absolute madman.
Bold. But he'll be able to get into the dungeon, I'm sure, with no issues.
He may take the death
in the dungeon. I don't know if he'll do that. If he didn't grab the apples, which would be a lot faster than taking the death warp, then you got to think that he's just going to try to go for it. Maybe he's just that comfortable with his Thieves Town, which wouldn't really surprise me at all.
Yeah, but if he takes a hit from the ghost opening Thieves Town, he's done. Yeah.
And you can do something about that kind of by nudging, you know, one of those little railings as you... Oh, he just about jumped out
man.
of that
Oh,
that would have been... Oh my gosh! Okay, this is going to be a really exciting Thieves Town. Everyone please pay close attention.
Zelnus is going to bypass the hammer jump. Probably a wise move. Meanwhile, TGH is... Woo lad.
Yeah, Xelnas is opting out of the hammer jump here and going for the basement key option. Something you can do if you do get this basement key is get, I think, 210 rupees is what you want leaving.
What's going to happen in Hellway?
And then you will worry far less about rupees in your route later on. You can skip some of the drops. I'm sorry, I'm so focused on Tej right now.
Yeah, Xelnas did not get the 210. That's just knowledge that isn't typically widely known.
What's the God Pixel got bad RNG though. Runs into the Anti-Fairy, so he's got 1 heart. He's gonna get, so these crickets or grasshoppers or whatever you want to call them down here in the basement do 2 hearts of damage. So these guys look small and non-threatening, but they can actually one-shot them right now.
You may have paid for a whole seat, but you only need the edge. Please do not die before the floor blows up.
This spawnable room can be actually really tough too, because as you're dashing out of that door, if you are like a little bit low on that door and start nudging, one of those guys from the top can just run into you for no reason whatsoever.
Now, I don't have game audio going. I'm going to just assume that the jingle played and that floor did actually get bombed open, but he cut it pretty close.
I didn't actually hear or see it.
Xelnas has to realize he can bonk back over.
Looks like he's trying. Yeah, there you go. He got it.
There you go.
Yeah, that may be something that a lot of people don't know. I didn't know that until up until a few months ago. I think I saw it out of randomizer actually. Somebody bonked back over that gap. Maybe Christos that I saw do that. But yeah, that's something I learned from watching that.
The weird thing is it technically puts you in EG, but not in a way that's abusable. So, and jumping back over corrects it. All right, TGH has
decided 1 heart.
We only need all of these extra heart containers we picked up are useless. We're just gonna roll with 2 hearts. Meanwhile, Xelnas is working on the mimics, using the sword to help maneuver them. So you want to talk about blind?
Yeah, sure. So blind, even though Tej does have 2 hearts here, I think he'll be pretty safe in this blind fight because it is completely scripted. Good thing he picked up that other heart here. If he had gotten hit by one of the heads, he would have been dead to that. So really smart pickup of the heart there. It's a scripted fight, so what he's going to try to do, he's going to try to go for pokes on Blind's head, which allow you to get the damage in as fast as possible because you don't take any much of the knockback from the sword slash at all. So really this blind fight is just about being in the right spot at the right time and having your sword out and just kind of allowing Blind to run into that. So very nicely handled, well executed fight by Tej there on Blind.
Meanwhile, over in Palace of Darkness, Xelnas having a little bit of a turtle party, but cleans it up with minimal damage. And we're gonna see Xelnas' approach to Helmasaur. Helmasaur is, I mean, he is the ender of runs. He just has a lot of really brutal attacks that are pretty powerful considering how many hearts you have. At this level, taking 2 hearts of damage is problematic. So Xelnas gets 1 spin, 1/2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Nice fight by Xelnas. Very well handled.
Alright, so continuing on with the rupee route here on Tej's side. We're going to loot the Village of Outcasts here, grab this 300 chests, and then we're going to go temper our sword.
Yep. So the economy of Hyrule is strange. Flippers cost 500 for what amounts to a couple of pieces of rubber. Meanwhile, the highly qualified services of 2 professional skilled blacksmiths only cost 10 rupees. Go figure. And then, so what you're going to see here is TGH is going to be dropping the frog, who, surprise, spoilers, is actually a dwarf, off, dropping off the sword, and then triggering the sword pickup by mirroring to the Dark World and mirroring back.
In each one of these warps that you're about to see here on Tej's side, you can actually see the quick warp animation, because if you're aligned with these stairs here as you're mirroring back and forth, you will get the quick warps guaranteed because the camera is in a good spot. So this is a really good way to see the quick warp animation, how it cuts off a little bit earlier than the normal one.
Yep. Now, hopefully we will see the best trick in the game, the fence dash.
Yeah, getting tempered is faster. You can beat the game with just Master Sword, obviously, but it does slow down a lot of the boss fights. Yeah, if it didn't slow down those boss fights so much, it actually would be faster.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, once you see the Ganon fight, you'll understand that it's, you know, the time it takes to get tempered, you almost save that entirely on Ganon.
Crap, did Teach get fence dash? I missed it.
He did not. He did not. Went for it, but he bailed out at the last second.
Well, at least he went for it. And bailing out is a lot better than bonking, so credit there.
So we are on our way to Skull Woods, casually one of the most confusing dungeons, but from a speedrun perspective, probably one of the most straightforward as long as you know where to go. You play actually very little of this dungeon, even compared to some of the other ones. But we're going to start off with, I know it's your favorite room in the game, a lot of people's. It is the mummy statue room.
This is absolutely the worst room in the game, objectively.
So the idea is to get that while dodging the mummies and dodging the hand. You got to kill the jellies, lift the pot, push the statue onto the switch so you can go get the big key. But a lot of things can go wrong, and when one thing goes wrong in that room, everything goes wrong. Meanwhile, Tej has got his key, and he is on his way to the third bomb jump, the Skullwoods bomb jump, a much simpler one than the hammer jump, very comparable to the Hera bomb jump, does the same spin tech.
Yeah, the spin jump here, I think, is a lot safer and more reasonable to go for. If you're comfortable with the setup, you can do whatever you'd like, obviously. But I think in Hera, especially, that it's really risky unless you've practiced it a lot, which I'm sure Tej has. But falling on that Hera bomb jump and then falling down those floors can be a big time loss. Here in Skull Woods, it's not nearly as bad since you're just starting back at the beginning of the room.
Yep. Xelnas, by the way, making it past Usain Bolt without taking any damage, and Tej is on his way to the last part. And we're going to see some actually a really cool room coming up is this Mummy Hellway, and there's a few different strats, and I think Tej will probably go for the more optimal.
I would imagine he'll go for optimal, yeah. So he's going to dash over here, 2 rods, dash up, grab the pot, throw it up at the mummy like the other 2 torches, and then rod and dash out. There's some item dashes you can do there. They're more swaggy than anything else. They just kind of save on the human error frames in between you firing the rod and starting your dash again. And then if you do the rod dash into exiting the room, then you kind of have a little bit of a slowdown from the animation finishing out in the next room anyway. So on to the moth fight for Tej now.
Yep, so Mothula takes 4 hits with the tempered sword, but the spikes will block him from taking damage. But he gets Moth without much trouble.
Yeah, very well handled. The main setup that people try to use for that fight is to dash into Mothula at the beginning of the fight and dash into that block right behind him. And if you do it correctly, you can actually get 2 hits onto him.
Yep.
And then as Scrivo said, if you do slash him and he happens to hit a spike after that, he's not going to take any damage. So another one of those common strats that you'll likely see are poke dashes. As long as you poke him and then hold A for a solid period of time after that, you will register the damage that a slash would normally do to him.
Indeed. One right before Mothula, by the way, I wanted to call out, there was a really clean mummy key room by TGH. Xelnas getting a bomb from a tree, but is able to dash away quick enough.
I think we missed it, but I'm assuming Xelnas during that segment went and grabbed powder, which is one of the best, if not the best, safety in the game.
Yes, he did.
It looks like he's going to put it to use right away. No, he's just going a slightly different route through Thieves Town. That's all. My mistake.
So meanwhile, TGH is on to the Ice Palace segment, but the first thing that we've got to do, we got to go get the flippers, and on the way we're going to get the Quake Medallion.
Xelnas is trying to increase his lockpicking skills, apparently. Tried to open the big key door without actually getting the big key first. just a small routing mistake here. He's gonna go grab the big key now and then be on his way.
And we are gonna probably see him use that powder at the top of Hellway. TGH getting through the lottery screen. There's a rope on that screen that can just decide to damage you, and there's nothing you can do. Something about subpixels.
Something subpixels, yes.
Yes. We're not joking. There are actually subpixels now.
Yeah. No half A presses, though.
Yes.
So Tej is actually getting another free quick warp here by bonking on this wall and then interrupting the catfish cutscene there. And that puts the camera on the correct spot to where you can just walk straight up and not moving left or right, and you get the quick warp. Yep. I talk about quick warps a lot, but man, they're free time saves. I mean, it's half a second, and there's some sort of free setup or a good visual cue that you can use. So learn your quick warps, folks.
Meanwhile, TGH moving through the actual worst screen in the game, objectively, Zora's Domain.
I don't know about that. It is a really tough screen to actually optimize the movement, though, because you have so many of these little dashes everywhere, and they all have to be on point, or else you jump into the water, and then you will inevitably get caught in a loop of jumping into the water over and over again, and cursing yourself for ever having ran through this part of the game.
Yep. Meanwhile, 500 rupees exchanged for some fabulous finger webs. Xelnas blowing open the hole in the floor and moving on to the basement of Thieves Town. TGH with a really nice water dash there. Looked like he was in the deep water, but he was actually just on the top dash of the pixel.
Yeah, it can be really deceptive when you're looking at Zora's Domain as well. You'll see, some top runners, and it looks like they're just dashing in the deep water, and it looks like a glitch, but it's just the difference in how the game is displaying the actual map and what you can actually walk on.
Yep.
Alright, this is one of my favorite rooms in Ice Palace. Ooh, okay. I saw Tej slash one of those jellies there. Ice physics are really, really, really strange. After you use an item, if you are holding a diagonal, you will get an extreme movement boost where you move at a really, really fast speed. And you'll see that abused a few times here in Ice Palace, and Ice 2 is one of those rooms. Another one of those rooms where you'll see it is the Lonely Firebar room, where we'll likely see Tej using the hammer to get those movement frames that I was talking about. Yes.
And then we are coming up from TGH on the last of the bomb jumps that we're going to see, the Ice Palace bomb jump in a few rooms from here. But first we've got this double Stelphos room. So these two Stelphos are actually linked by the game in that normally you have to put both of them in the killable state, but because you put the bottom one in the killable state and you hit both of them with the bomb, it allows them both to die. And then now Tej is here through the conveyor onto the Ice Palace bomb jump. You've got a few X-axis positions you can be in, then you got to move to a specific Y, and he gets across.
I've heard tell you can actually hover across those gaps as well. Is that true, Screaming?
I think you may actually see that at 8:30 p.m. tonight on twitch.tv/beatgaming.
Are you planning on running out of bombs, or is that just your strat?
Swag, 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 swag.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, so here's the movement tech on Ice that I was talking about with Tej. That was very clean movement. It's normally very tough to actually get that movement on the Ice past that Lonely Firebar, because the inputs are so awkward for it. Because you're holding a diagonal and then using an item and then traveling in that direction afterwards.
Yep. So Xelnas made a pretty quick work of blind. Meanwhile, TGH is on his way to everybody's failed Pokemon Cold Stare. He was supposed to be in Pokemon Red, but he just wasn't cute enough and decided to hide in this dungeon instead.
Mutsky, can you confirm or deny?
But so you have to.
We're going to see from Tej here on Cold Stare. There's a few versions you can do. Looks like he's just going to go for the standard 6 slash, which is probably the easiest one to get most consistent. We may see some other strats where you poke dash Cold Stare and then release a spin in the corner, but 6 slash is very viable and doesn't lose much time at all to poke dashes.
Yep. So the cold stare fight was just made to look very easy, but the trick with that fight is that you have skipped the dungeon item. You should have the blue mail, which would reduce your damage, but you don't because we go fast. Those ice crystals that fall from the ceiling each do 2 hearts of damage, and if you hug a pink puff, he will do 4. If the cold stare fight goes sideways, you will die, and you will die fast, and then you will lose a lot of time because you don't have enough magic to re-enter the dungeon. But TGH used a setup to get 6 slashes in the corner, dispatch of him quickly, and move on. Meanwhile, Xelnas has picked up a frog who is going to do some work on a sword.
Yeah, I think I mistakenly called out the fact that he was not getting those basement rupees, but I'm pretty sure what he would end up doing is getting gold sword and silver arrows, so he probably needed those extra rupees anyway.
Yes, I believe you're correct. Yep. Meanwhile, TGH is on his way through the overworld, heading off to Swamp. Swamp is canonically the 2nd dungeon per the number that shows up on the map, but just because we like to go fast, it's quicker to do it now. First of all, the Tempered Sword makes the boss fight a lot faster, and it just happens to work out better with the overworld movement to put us here at this point. We are going to see the last minor glitch, the Mire block erase, used 1 time, and that's it. So by pushing the Mire while pushing a block in a room that the Mire does nothing, you despawn the block sprite, and you can just go ahead and pass on through.
Fun fact, you can item dash to do the Mire block erase.
Can you?
However,
can you?
I would not personally recommend it, and I don't think Scriba would either.
It's a good strat. I'm just bad at the game.
It's a good strat until you mess it up on both sides and then have to exit and go back into the dam.
Yeah. So, Swamp Palace, moving on from my personal failings onto the successes of TGH, which is a much more compelling story.
All right, let's see. All right, Tej, my man, walking up to the key pots here. That is what I like to see. If you are dashing up to those key pots, if you are hammer dashing up to those key pots, you're doing it wrong and you're probably losing time. Stop it. Walk, hammer, dash out. Please.
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm sorry. That was 2017 rant. 2018 rant for me is Boomless Hera.
Xelnas has a stuck mummy.
The only redeemable thing about the worst room in the game is getting stuck mummy.
What happened with dashing in the Mire? With the Mire, I am bad at the video game, and I tried to do it and made a fool of myself last night. TGH making.
Oh, you heard me.
He did it. Why, TGH?
Okay, let me clarify. If you're probably at Tej's level and above, you can safely go for those. But I'm pretty sure even 124 runner Josh RTA does not go for those. Tej, I respect the hell out of you for doing that, man.
Alright. Also, after you hit that switch once, you want to hit it again. Don't leave that room without hitting the switch. Bad things. Yeah, you're going to have a bad time.
If you see the blue pegs down here as you're going back to this room, make sure you just go up to that room again and hit it.
So, Tej making his way through the remainder of Swamp, going to pick up the big key and do some backtracking. Meanwhile, Xelnas is making his way to the back half of Skull Woods. You're probably going to see the powder come out again in the room after Mummy Hellway. There's a bunny beam there. If you powder those bunny beams before they start to move, that hammer dash is okay, Tej. Keep doing that one. If you see the bunny beams, if you powder the bunny beams before they move, they turn into fairies.
Alright, Xelnas is going with the incinerate everything in the Mummy Hellway room. That's a good strat, though.
Burn them all, let the gods sort them out. He is not going to powder the fairy because he got their relatively high health.
All right, so you see Teach here rubbed up against that statue on the right side before he walked up to the hookshot, and then he's going to hold down right from the chest so that he lines himself up on the pixel to where he can just hook to the right twice without moving up or down.
I think he
over to that pot easily.
I thought I saw him walk right, but
maybe he did. But
yeah.
Regardless, that's the setup.
That is the setup. By the way, you just also saw TGH do a hook dash to hook over to that pot. That puts Link in a glitch state, which makes it easier to. Zelda had a really good really good moth fight, by the way. That makes it easier to pick up that pot from underneath the statue after you push the statue over on top of it. No, Zelda had actually really good. Only took 2 hearts of damage. So TGH now making his way through the remainder of... I don't think we're going to see him pick anything up on the restock room. He's good on arrows, good on bombs, good on hearts. No, he does want the bomb. Okay, I'm an idiot, apparently, and don't know what I'm talking about. I thought he was good on everything.
Yeah, he certainly was. Maybe he just wanted an extra one for Mire Bomb Wall or something in case something went wrong.
Yep.
It's not an issue really to deplete your very last one anyway. Going for the 0 cycle kill here.
Bailed out.
Which involves holding the sword out and then getting an item dash, which puts you into a glitch state whereupon after you hook a puff, you will instantly kill it, and then you have a very small window of time to actually rehook after that. So he missed the first item dash there, but went for the second one and cleaned up the fight from there. Got the quick kill with the fire rod on the second phase as well. So overall, a really nice fight from Teach.
Yep. So the swimming, by the way, in this game is very difficult to explain, but the idea is that swimming is acceleration based, and you want to, at a task level, press A every 31 frames, I believe it is. But if you are a human being, just mash. Just mash. So, Xelnas lost the lottery. Thank you, Subpixels.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do about that. There's one thing you can do to reduce your chances of losing that lottery, which is to not nudge that tree before you dash over to the Ropa, but it's not a 100% guaranteed thing at all.
Yep. By the way, that was the longest crystal cutscene that you're going to see in the game.
It looks like, so if you do take damage from that lottery, though, there are a few places where you can potentially pick up hearts that you do have full hearts for ice. One of them was that bush that Zelnus passed up right before you jump off the ledge to get the quake from the catfish. If you pick up that bush, there can potentially be a heart under that.
The jukes and the dodges. By the way, TGH real quick did something that's called sword climbing. By doing a hook dash on a ladder with your sword out and charging, you get put into a state where you can climb the ladder really fast. He actually did both of them and did the first one optimally without releasing the spin. It happened so fast.
Yeah, that sword climb, number one, looks really cool, and it does save a little bit of time. It's about half a second. You'll probably see a lot of other runners getting Ether and Ice Rod in a different segment, probably before the Mire segment, so they wouldn't necessarily be doing that hook dash. So if you're doing that, that's absolutely fine and reasonable because you're not really losing a ton of time to not doing the hook dash anyway. But still a really cool strat.
Now from Death Mountain, we're on our way to the southeast corner of Hyrule to pick up the Ice Rod, which will be used exactly twice on the same boss, and then never seen again. It's almost taking the back door to the warp and getting caught up in the whirlpool.
Yeah, I swear that warp barely has a hitbox at all. It's so difficult to actually get into that, especially with the way that swimming works, as you hinted towards earlier. It can be very difficult to actually find the hitbox of that warp sometimes.
So TGH now making his way to the 6th dungeon, Misery Mire. we see our first and only appearance of Ether to open it. Shoutouts to Walrus Prime with the bird. Is he gonna do it?
Oh, he did it! He tossed the bird.
He tossed the bird.
Nice.
My man.
Keeping the meme alive. Alright, so TGH is going down to Mire 2 here, one of the coolest rooms in this dungeon, and probably the game itself. Having beams here allows you to do this room really, really fast.
You don't need that chest, it's the compass!
Fortunately, TGH missed one of the Wizrobes, so he wasn't able to one-cycle it, but he still cleaned it up really fast. Did Xelnas pick up another chest?
He picked up the compass. He killed all the penguins.
The first penguins, nice, dude.
He did. So now Xelnas knows what way is north.
It's a great farm spot, though, honestly. If you need magic or anything from those penguins, killing all of them really isn't that bad, and you get some really good drops. So. And then you get a compass out of it, too, so...
By the way, little known fact, despite what you may have seen or heard, the big key in Mire is not optional. It turns out you cannot complete the dungeon without picking it up. I recently learned that.
Can you give us a breakdown on how to light these torches too, the optimal way?
No, I clearly don't know how to do that either.
So let's take a look at this Mire torch this time. This is kind of one of the common checkpoints that runners tend to look at during one of their speed runs to see how they're doing. That was around a 106 flat torches time for TGH. At his level, he can probably complete the game from here within 20 minutes, I would say. So we're probably looking at a low 126, maybe a high 125 from TGH.
Yep. Ooh, Xelnas having a little bit of trouble here. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do. He has one more shot at the bomb jump.
Oh boy.
So he has decided to use that rando knowledge.
Looks like he's just gonna No, okay, he is gonna go for the bomb jump again, okay.
He thought about completing the dungeon naturally.
Yep, he's gonna have to restart it now, so...
Yeah.
That's not a great death, but honestly, not nearly as bad as dying to Cold Stare, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. I really don't know what you do in that situation other than just going for it, because completing the dungeon normally would probably actually take more time than dying and going back and doing the bomb jump again, I think.
Yeah, it would be pretty close to a wash, even optimally. As if there were an optimal way to do the remainder of Ice Palace.
Right.
So, meanwhile, TGH is making his way... This one is the basement of Misery Mire, I guess, which makes sense because it clearly doesn't extend into the sky. Architecture 101 with Scrivo and Greenham. So we got the cane, we're going to use it. Of course, it's Zelda. If you get an item, you're forced to use it. And he's also going to use cane dashing right there to get that switch.
So one small thing that TGH is probably going to do here, you see he depletes his last bomb there, which automatically switches him to the fire rod so that he can hit that crystal switch more quickly than if he had to just walk over and slash it. So it's a very small thing with the item routing, but kind of cool. It also works if you take powder, because you get the free switch to the powder as well, and pretty much everyone that takes powder is always going to powder the Sandy Fairy right before Viddy, but TGH knows the good Viddy strats, is going to walk in there without filling up his health. Optimally, he should only take 4 hearts of damage here.
So we're going to do 3 spin attacks. He's going to do 4, I think.
Yeah. He's just going to go for the easy cleanup. He had the health to do it, so there's really no downside to going for that 4 spin. Plus, he gets a hit onto the main eyeball of Viddy, which allows him to use 1 less arrow, I'm pretty sure.
Hey, Xelnas sticking it out, getting the Ice Palace bomb jump.
Hey, good on you, man.
Alright, so with the 6th crystal in tow, TGH is going to be making his way back up the mountain. And we can all say, welcome to the rock. Meanwhile, Xelnas cleaning up the latter portion of ice. I imagine he's going to go and pick up a fairy just to be 100% safe. If you go north from this block push room, there's an anti-fairy he can powder. Let's see what he does.
Yeah. Definitely going to go for that anti-fairy. Very good decision.
Yep.
Cold Stare is not friendly, and yep, everything about him does a lot of damage, so the fight can be over before you know it.
So we are back on Death Mountain. So far, the squirrels have not played a significant portion.
Are you just trying to commentator's curse him right now?
You know,
like you're really
TGH is way too strong. No mere commentator's curse could bring him down.
That's true. Yeah, very nice lower Death Mountain by him. One kind of cool thing you can do if these squirrels do get in your way, if you happen to hook one of them, and then while they're still moving around, you hook them again, you'll actually be able to hit them again during their iframes.
Xelnas,
yeah, Cold Stare fight.
He went for kind of a different setup there, and now he's just kind of, he's in damage control mode now. When you have 3 free roaming puffs, ice crystals falling from the ceiling. Okay, he's got one down.
He's not staying still, which is exactly what you don't want to do.
Yeah, they don't necessarily do... Okay, he got both of them with that last spin. Meanwhile, Tej probably went for an item dash with the Quake medallion there, which is going to put him in a glitch state and let him get a free quick hop.
Way to handle that fight, Xelnas. Way to keep moving.
Yeah. If you stand still, chances are you're going to die. Alright, so Turtle Rock has a few really cool rooms. I think between Turtle Rock and Ganon's Towers, definitely the 2 dungeons that you start seeing the separation even amongst, you know, the 120-something runners, just execution in these dungeons. And you start seeing some really cool tech. The first one coming up is in this here room with the 2 rollers. You're going to see TGH use the hookshot iframes to get through the first roller, and then take a damage boost off the top roller to get a clean dash out of the room.
Yep, you lose some hearts, but you save a good amount of time doing that over mirroring out or doing just like hookshot and vulnerability strats out.
But we talked earlier in Aghanim's Tower about how he dash killed 2 blue guards to preserve a fairy, and this is where that fairy should show up. So when he kills this pokey, it will possibly drop that fairy.
You got the heart, which is
the
first drop in the prize pack that we're talking about. And the way that drops work in this game is that enemies are grouped together, and then within that group, they always drop items in the same order. So when you kill enemies with a dash, you actually set the drop rate to 0. Otherwise, for this particular prize pack, it's just a 50-50. So by killing those guards earlier with a dash, we maintain the prize pack order. And you just saw that Tej got the heart drop from that first pokey there, which is the first drop. The next one should be a fairy after that, and then a full magic right after that.
Yeah, so it really sets you up for, you know, just in case the overworld goes poorly, or just in case you take damage, because those pokies do 4 hearts. It sets you up in a good place. So there's that fairy. It is really trying not to get caught.
Yeah, those floating skeleton heads do 4 hearts of damage as well.
Just so do the lasers.
Yeah, and the lasers as well. So the game expects you to have blue mail, at least by this point, so that's why everything does so much damage here with green.
And probably some bottles and nets and potions. And
yeah, potentially, but we don't need any of that crap.
Nope. It's all extra. DLC.
Except for powder. Powder's really good.
Powder is really good. Don't
Especially here where there's just anti-fairies littered everywhere.
Yep. So now Tej is going into the double pokies room, Pokey 2. There are 2 of these guys. Each of them can move 4 ways. There's 16 patterns. He gets one of the better ones, allowing him to get a quick kill on the top and clean up the second one by the door. Now Xelnas is on his way into Mire. So seeing more cool strats with the block here.
Tej went for the squeeze there. There are a few variations on the strat that he did where the one that he did where you just squeeze past the roller, which you have to be very quick in both the previous room and in that room itself because they're both linked as to when the timer starts. But the other variation is where you just stand on the pegs next to the chest and then hit the crystal switch, which loses about a second, I want to say, maybe a little bit less, but he did the really fast squeeze strat, which is fun to see.
And the slowest strat in that room is just taking a bonk to carry you over the roller. It's very safe, but it is slower.
Skipping lasers, getting keys. Be out of here.
All right. Hey, we didn't talk about key dashing real quick. If you dash at a door, normally you bonk off of it. But if you line up a multiple of 4 pixels away from the door, you'll hit the unlock trigger on a frame of your dash, open the door, and let you dash cleanly through. This works on north, west, and east doors, not doors on the south walls, of which there's only like 1 or 2 in the run.
Yeah, main one I can think of is Swamp.
Ganon's, I guess Ganon's Tower after you hookshot the chest.
Oh yeah.
So TGH is going to kill Trinex before we have a chance to talk to him about it. Talk about it. You saw the only use of the ice rod there to clean up the fire head. Switches to the fire rod, cleans up the ice head. Going to release the spin just as the shell disappears. He only got 1 spin off, it looked. Looks like he did not get the double spin, but cleans it up nicely.
Yeah. He's almost a little low on health here, but having battery, he should be fine. Those slugs, though, can be, excuse me, can be really scary, as they do 4 hits of damage as well.
Yep. And the Wizrobes can as well. And he is now down to 1.5 hearts. So
yeah, he's gonna need to seek out an anti-fairy stat, or he'll probably need to. He's not gonna be able to get the spike key, so he might either get the one in the main hub or the bridge key.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. Actually, you know what? Passing back through to the main hub, he's going to pass an anti-fairy in this next room, I believe. Oh, wow. Powder, please.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you. Crisis averted. Meanwhile, TGH saying hello to Lionel Richie, but it turns out he was not who he was looking for. So he's on his way to Ganon's Tower. Gonna walk it. Alright, so Ganon's Tower is, in a word, fun. It is a fun dungeon. It's hard to master. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, but when you learn this dungeon, it's really fun.
Yeah, it's just basically non-stop action. There's really no downtime. There are really no down rooms at all. Like, every room you have to execute a somewhat difficult strategy, and you have to do it damn well. So you really don't get any downtime. And it's just really fast-paced.
Fast-paced, yes.
Really close on the pronunciation there.
That's one of my favorite rooms in the dungeon right there, that double crystal room. You throw a boomerang, quickly switch to hook shot, hook past the pegs as they're rising.
So, Dark Magician, how slow is that slow torch key?
Do you... This is the man that is quick on the clip button and keeps a library of everything anybody has ever done.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Alright, so one of the gimmicks of Ganon's Tower is we are going to refight all of the Light World bosses. The first up is Ice Armos. It's Armos, but on ice. Brought to you by Disney. Because you can't get the same setup that you would have gotten in the Eastern Palace fight, we're going to use the bottom right setup, and Tej is going to fire 2 up. Nope. 4 up. Okay.
So Xelnas is in the Vidi fight right now. He had full health going in, so he should be okay. Would like to see him going for a few more spins inside of the goo here and just taking the iframe since he does have so much health, but he's opting for a stick and move strat here, it looks like, which can be a little dangerous if you get enough eyeballs flying at you in the wrong pattern. Xelnas, please.
Meanwhile, we're seeing in Ganon's tower, pay attention to TGH's mimics. Mimics 1 a little slow.
Yeah, not bad mimics.
And took Mimics 2 a little bit carefully, but still really nice. Right. Xelnas.
Shout out to Sankart.
Staying alive. And we are now coming up in the 5 rooms that pretty much define Ganon's tower, the Gauntlet. It is a series of 5 rooms, each of which you have to kill all enemies in order to proceed. They increase in difficulty as you make your way through and feature ice and beams and spikes and a lot of fun. First one is pretty straightforward. You just got to kill these guys, but then suddenly laser.
That lovely Gauntlet 2 RNG where you get both Stalfos at the bottom and can kill them with the same dash. That is the prime RNG right there.
That was pretty sick.
Also getting really good RNG in this room. It's going to hold down left, use the fire rod to hit that Stalfos every single time. Yep. Pretty solid Gauntlet overall.
Yep, and now our second Light World boss refight. Land Mole is 2, but this time you have a fire rod, so it's really like cheating. No, he got hit by the Medusa and could not get that last fire rod off.
That Medusa is a pro. Always knows just the exact right time to fire that's going to screw you up for your next spin.
Now, these are some of my favorite rooms to watch when I was learning the game. These Wizrobe rooms with the cane quick kills. There were 3 Wizrobes, now there's none. So, they said, he surely can't kill 4 Wizrobes quickly. Well, he did. Impossible bridge.
Yeah, that bridge seems like sometimes the developers like to patch it every once in a while and just randomly knock you off. There was some science done a while back. I believe Pincus ran a number of tests on that bridge trying to find a pixel that was actually 100% that you could always dash up, but unfortunately there isn't one. There are 2 or 3 pixels, I want to say, that are like 99%, but yeah, there's nothing that's actually guaranteed for that bridge, unfortunately. Alright, coming up on the end of G Tower here. I wonder if Tej is going to hold hover past Moldorm 2 or not.
Let's see. All the true professionals hover.
Oh, we mapped! The map buffer!
Oh, map! I'm the map.
Dude, easy hover.
Easy every time.
So you'll probably get a wigged out bumper here.
I think it's if Moldorm's on the left side of the room.
On the, yeah, he's left side. Yeah, easy peasy.
All right, so we are on our way to Geometry Wizard. There are 3 of them. They are named Sine, Cosine, and Tangent, and your job is to guess the angle.
3 hits on the first cycle.
The triple, baby.
So yeah, with this fight, there are blue balls, but it's a little bit different from the main fight. The first one, you're always going to get an energy ball. The next 2 are 50-50s on whether you get a blue ball or not from the real one. The clones are always going to fire energy balls, so while you're doing this fight, you should always prioritize the shots from them, because you can never be sure if you're going to get a blue ball from Ag or not.
Yep, pretty good Ag.
Pretty solid, yeah. I think that was a 4 cycle?
I thought it was a 3. He got the triple. It must have been a 4, because I think it was a triple and then 3 singles.
Yeah. Either way, good fight, though.
Yep. 4 is the maximum cycles that you should get, unless you make a serious mistake. but the
Wow.
fight.
I have a lot of work to do.
The fight can certainly go. You can just get awful patterns, and then there's nothing you can do. But we are here in the Ganon fight. 4 phases to the Ganon fight. 12 hits in the first 2 phases. We got a 3 slashes and a double spin, and then cleaning it up with 5 more slashes at the bottom. 12 hits to get through phase 2, which is this fire bat phase. And then we've got phase 3 coming up. And then, Greenham, can you tell us about phase 4 and what makes somebody good at the Ganon fight with Tempered Sword?
Yeah, phase 4 is all about your timing. It requires really good timing of lighting the torch and making sure that when you do light the torch, it's right when Ganon is landing. Because if you light early, he's going to end up just shooting fire bats again, and you're only going to be able to get a maximum of 2 hits on that cycle. If you light it as soon as he lands, it gives you a really big window of frames to get that first spin off. And then you are much more likely to be able to get the next 2 spins in as well. So you'll see TGH trying to light pretty much exactly when Ganon is going to land, which is, if he's at the top of the screen, you have to time it really, really well and shoot well before he actually lands at the spot. So right here, it looks like he lit at the right time, but wasn't actually able to actually make it over to Ganon in order to release the spin on time. Ganon can give you some really interesting warp patterns where he goes. He will always alternate between top and bottom, but there are 4 spots on each side that he can potentially warp to. So being good at phase 4 involves handling all of that really, really well, and TGH has done it.
Yep, that's 12 spins, and he wins with a speedracing.tv final race time of 1:26:23. Your winner in this first match of the Link to the Past No Major Glitches tournament is TGH. Show them your GGs, folks. Now, over on... We're going to see if we can get TGH in here, by the way. I think he's listening to us, and if he would like to stop into commentary, if he wants to hop into Runners 1 in the Discord, we'd be happy to bring him in. Racers 1, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, you notice that Xelnas actually did his Dark World dungeons in a different order. He already did Mire, and now he's in Swamp. Xelnas is going the Gold Sword route to make the Ganon fight a little bit easier, and by flopping those 2 dungeons, you have a slightly more difficult Mire, but coming out of Swamp, you're in the best position to go and get the Big Bomb and get the Gold Sword. So that's why he is taking this slightly different route.
And I kind of miss Gold Sword and Silver Arrows. Those are really fun items. It actually makes some G-Tower strats really fun too. Especially the Mimics rooms, you can be really, really fast in those rooms. Alright, so Xelnas going with the safer approach to the Argus fight here, just the hook and slash method. You kind of have to deal with Argus moving at you. He moves 3 times before he does his cycle where he starts rotating the puffs out towards you. And during each of those 3 moves, he can move varying lengths and speeds at you. So being good at this fight is all about just knowing that movement and handling it appropriately. Alright, Argus down, living with 1.5 hearts. Let's go.
And I think we are going to be getting TGH in here shortly. So Xelnas has wrapped up Swamp. He is going to... You see that he still has quite a few rupees. He's going to use 100 of them to go buy an exceptionally large bomb and use that to blow a hole in a pyramid and get some new weaponry. Meanwhile, we're going to be bringing in TGH. Hey, TGH, my man.
Hey, what's up?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, nice race.
Thanks. That was a fun run.
When's the last time you actually did a full run of the game?
I did one, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before yesterday, I think. It was like, I don't think it was a sub 130, actually. So, yeah, before that, my last full NMG run, I don't think had been for about 2 months.
Nice, dude. This was really solid, though, for not having played much recently, then.
Thanks. I want to know what you were saying about me during Swamp.
It wasn't anything about
There's
in
because
particular.
chat was going absolutely insane. And
All right, so the very first key pot in Swamp, you know, like those key pot trenches
Yeah.
where you just walk up
Yeah.
to the pot. The very first one, you walked up
Yeah.
and hammered it and just dashed out. You know,
Yeah.
perfect, like absolute pinnacle of what you're supposed to do in that room,
Yeah.
right? And then I went on this very short but
He ranted.
passionate
He ranted.
rant about that's what you should do,
Yeah.
you know, because most of the time you're going to be losing time by dashing up to those pots. And then the
Uh-huh.
very next one, you hammer dashed up to the
Uh-huh.
pot.
yeah, it's just so you got a problem?
Not at all, dude. I respect the hell out of you for it.
I actually
The
messed it
timing
up
of it
too. I
was
lost
amazing.
time doing it. I missed the first hammer dash, so I actually did lose time doing it.
It was just so perfectly timed.
yeah,
That was great,
it was-
dude.
I don't know. I kind of switched back and forth on those pots.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had some fun with Usain Bolt for sure.
Dude,
You
I
did.
kind of thought you were going to go down for a minute.
That was the first time in any NMG run I've ever done, like including like when I was first learning the game, the first time I've ever had that fail.
Wow,
I don't know
yeah.
why I got caught by him, but I guess my movement just wasn't quite tight enough through it. But I
Yeah.
had never been caught by him like that, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I straight up did not know what to do.
The thing is, like, there's only one thing you really can do, and it's just walk away. Because, like, everything, like, if you try to fight him, or if you try to start a dash or something, he's just going to destroy you.
Yeah, I tried to fight him off so I could like dash
He's,
to the
just,
right.
he's
but
too
it
good. He's just too
didn't work.
good, man.
Yeah, he's too fast.
Meanwhile, in the chat, they're discussing your hover, which was pretty well done, if I must say so. As a hover aficionado myself, I must say yours gets 10 out of 10.
It's all about the map buffer, honestly.
The map buffer actually
You would
made
have
it
fallen
for me.
easily if you had not opened up the map there.
Yeah. No, but like it's I don't know. Knuckle sometimes grazes the X button, and
Oh, are you a
Yeah.
knuckle hover?
yes, no, I just like I use my fingernails, but sometimes like I just hit the X button with my knuckle, and
Yeah.
it's like I get my knuckles really low, my controller.
Gotcha. So, meanwhile, Xelnas has his gold sword, has his silver arrows, and is heading up to the rock. So yeah, that was I said a pretty solid showing. Other than your quick dalliance with Usain Bolt, I didn't see anything that really stood out to me as really an unforced error.
Yo, Xelnas going for the Waffle House drive-through. Major props for even going for that, dude. You can get that on certain RNGs, and it does save a good amount of time. But yeah,
What do you
don't get the right RNG.
I've never heard of that before.
So on the T-Rock overworld, like after you
Oh,
go
I see what
off
you
that,
did. I see what you did.
yeah.
I've
The
actually never tried that before.
The God Splice put it in, and it's really cool to watch. But it can go very poorly sometimes, as Waffle, I think, can attest to.
Well, now that it's Dr. Waffle, I think we might need to come up with a new name to respect the Waffle's doctordom.
Yeah, it's got a PhD now, so
Yeah.
or it will soon anyway. So, Tej, when is your next race? Do you have one scheduled yet, or?
I think I'm racing John Carl's. We decided on early in this week, so either like I guess tomorrow or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever.
Nice, dude.
But we haven't decided on a specific time or day yet. So, yeah, that's it, pretty much.
Cool, man.
All right. Well, hey, also definitely want to make sure we congratulate you on your recent accomplishments in Celeste. I've had a lot of fun watching you play that game.
Oh, thank you. I've had probably more or an equal amount of fun playing it. It's
Yeah,
a
it sounds
really,
like you're
really good
enjoying
game
the
to
hell out of
speedrun.
it too.
Yeah, for
which
sure.
I mean, it's really good for a speed game because I mean, there's always that kind of love-hate relationship that you have with the game
Yeah.
that you're running. But yeah, it sounds like this has been an overly positive one for you.
That's inevitable, the love-hate relationship for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been like 95% love and 5%
That's a really good ratio.
just
That's a really
despising
solid
me.
ratio.
But so yeah, well, we will look forward to your next race, and I think probably not guessing too much to say that you have a pretty fair chance of making it out of groups. So we'll look to see just how far you are able to make it in this year. I think you're one of the players that definitely has a chance. So we'll look forward to it.
Thank you. I definitely surprised myself in this race. I was not expecting a 126 out of the gate for sure.
That's really
my
solid.
goal was just to sub 130 this race. Because I don't know. I'd like to think I'm a little bit rusty, and it might have shown in my movement a little bit. But yeah, I'll have to buck up a little bit. Should I make it out of groups, I'll have to buck up a little bit to get anywhere in the, was it brackets after groups?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll have to buck up to get far at all out of there.
Zelnus, by the way, taking an unusual approach to the Chomps room, busting out the fire rod to get through the first pokey and using it in Chomps. And then, of course, as we said, Turtle Rock littered with fairy, so he's gonna spread the powder. What is it, Greenham? Spread the powder like Scarface? Is that how it goes?
Something like that, yeah.
Something along those lines. Spread more powder than yeah. But
all right, Tej. Well, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you hanging out for the post-race interview. I'm gonna probably wrap things up here pretty soon. There's another race happening right now on Speed Gaming 2. We got a 4-way going on, actually.
Yes, sir. We've got. We're gonna stick with Zelnus until he wraps up here. But over on Speed Gaming 2, we've got just started WQ and Rezifists, as well as Parisian Player and Kantos. So, and then we've got a few more coming up. I know there's at least one more race happening at 8:30 because it's my turn to get put in the dumpster this evening. But so there's Zelda everywhere. We've got 192 matches to get through group stages, 63 more matches in the brackets. There are going to be plenty of opportunities to tune into Speed Gaming and watch this tournament. Meanwhile, Zelnus is... I think he's probably not terribly comfortable with the laser skip, so I think he's going to get the Mire shield.
Yeah, he just wants a little more safety for the rest of the run. Kind of helps him out a little bit in G-Tower as well for the Mimics, so...
Yeah.
Not a bad thing to pick up. It also looks really cool, even though it's like twice the size, well, maybe not twice the size, it's like the full size of Link's sprite almost.
It is exceptionally large.
They call it the riot shield in the randomizer at the end of that.
That's pretty good.
So we talked about earlier about this room and the next room being linked. Zelnus was looking to see if there was anything under those pots, but there was not, and that puts this roller in a different position that he's now got to adjust for.
Interesting you didn't just
use the sword beams.
Yeah. He really needs some magic. I mean, it's great that you got down to that room and all, but you kind of need a platform to progress here.
Yeah, that's the danger. So using the fire rods on the pokey. See,
what is over in this room? I've never seen this room. Maybe I've seen it in a glitch category. I don't know. He could kill the pokey here.
Oh, I've been
try to get the prize back around, maybe.
So one of the dangers, I mentioned that he had used the fire rod to clear out the pokey in the room before Chomps and then use the fire rod again. If you don't get your magic drops, the magic in this dungeon's actually pretty tight if you start, throwing the fire rod around.
Yeah.
So we're in a bit of a pickle.
There is a small magic pot in this room and double pokies here, but I think he's just gonna have to end up. Yeah, he'll be fine with that.
I will say that I have been in that room for the same exact reason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't think ever in an NMG though, just in a rando.
Okay, so we also do have to watch here because get that
nice drop. That's a sick drop right there.
And that means that the next drop up is the full magic. So
yeah, he should be fine now with the small pot that he picked up though. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the that is one of the we have definitely seen a lot of players migrate over from randomizer for this tournament. And I think one of the things that you really, even if you started out speedrunning the game as opposed to coming from randomizer, one of the things that you really have to learn before, when you want to put yourself in a race situation is what are your backups? What do you do when things go wrong? A lot of us, if we're sitting around just RTAing and grinding for PB attempts, we do what we need to do and reset if something goes wrong. But you can't reset here. So it's, this is one of those times where knowing your prize packs, maybe knowing where you are in the prize packs, knowing, okay, where can I get magic? How much am I supposed to have? And what do I do if I run out? That's the knowledge that will help somebody advance far in these in the group stages, or could potentially be a downfall. But
for sure, I will say that randomizer has actually helped me to some degree in NMG as well because of that, just general knowledge of the game and what to do, knowing your backups in certain spots and everything. That really has helped me a lot, just as a side note.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's, we've actually seen a number of players that have improved pretty quickly that came over from randomizer. I want to say G3, Gerdo, I think, Gerdo was a randomizer player, and he quickly got to 126. There's been, I think there's another player in the tournament, BTILCX, which probably has a pronunciation, but my mouth doesn't work that way. He has a 126. I'm pretty sure he came over from randomizer.
Lots of glitched players as well have really come out of randomizer as well, and they have found so much stuff since then that's been used in a variety of our speedruns. So major shout outs to that community as well.
Yes. And as I mentioned, the Spring 2018 tournament signups are going on right now. There's probably a fast command in the chat that somebody can drop to give that information if you're looking at that. But Xelna's cleaning up Trinex and on the way over to Ganon's tower. So real quick, let's pull up the schedule real quick just to see what other highlights we have coming up.
That's a good point from Josh. Ben Teasy also started with Rando, and I think he has a 127, I want to think.
Yep.
My boy Ben Teasy.
All right. So coming up for the remainder of today, looks like at and I don't have channels for all. Excuse me, I don't have channels for all of these yet, but at 2:30 we've got Nikki Noel, also a Final Fantasy 1 experience, same as Xelnas. If you've watched any of the Total Chaos tournaments for FF1 this year or in past years, you've seen both Xelnas' name and Nikki Noel. Nikki is going up against JC87. At 3 o'clock, we've got Grefry versus Gem. At 4:30, Negazeus versus Darkmind Demon. Another really good player. Eddie's got that 124 now, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, he does.
Oh, yes, he does.
Really solid 124.
We've got at 8 o'clock, Lanxian versus Fricker 22. At 8:30, some idiot named Scrivo going up against JC87, who is doing double duty today. One race happening off the restream is going to be BTILCX versus Temple. Oh, nope, that's tomorrow. So yeah, so those, we got the double race going on, and we have 5 more scheduled for today. More races coming up, so plenty of Link to the Past action coming your way that you will be able to follow on the Speed Gaming family of networks. So as always, we want to make sure that we take the time to thank everybody involved in speed gaming. I think the first Link to the Past tournament, well, not the first one I was involved with back in 2016, speed gaming had been doing tournaments, but they were kind of doing this, everything was more of a manual thing where you needed, Feasel pretty much was running the whole show by hand, cropping streams. But now speed gaming has built out this really nice tournament infrastructure with scheduling and commentary crews and a nice restream interface. Uh-oh. We're stuck. Gotta go back. So it's been really nice making it very easy to put on tournaments like this. So thank you to Feasel and the entire team over at Speed Gaming for giving us this platform to use. So Xelnas making his way through GT. Meanwhile, one of the best sites, Total Games Played 000.
Didn't even play the game at all.
No, I didn't even play. Is that your full proper name, by the way, Scrivo? Scrivo.
Yes, actually, that is on my birth certificate.
Must address him as such.
Nice.
Yes.
I'll make sure to inform the commentators that's your pronunciation that you prefer.
They're aware.
They're already aware. Yeah, that's true.
Also, I think this is a command. Yep, there we go. So we've got want to make sure that we throw our runners a follow, xelnasTV and TGH_SR. A proud member of Team _.
Proud member of Team. My name is too short, so I need to add something onto the end of it.
All right, so Xelnas picked up those silver arrows. It's gonna make the Ice Armos fight a little bit easier. So one thing we didn't get a chance to mention, the Ice Armos fight, if you stay in that room too long, the Ganon fight changes. So there's a variable that carries over from when the Armos spin to when Ganon starts spinning bats around. And as long as you kill Armos within a set number of time, which the typical quick kill does, you'll get the same phase 2 bats every time. But if you take too long in the Armos fight, the bats will start shifting around and spawning and flying in different patterns. It can definitely make things go sideways really quick. But both Xelnas and TGH obviously did not stick around long enough for us to have to explain that. And if you die during the Ganon fight, when you go back into it, the bats will be different. Or if you try to practice the Ganon fight from a freshly powered on console, they'll be different. Luckily, we have one of the best practice hacks that exist in all of speedrunning. The Link to the Past practice hack, developed by Poor Little Pinkus. If you have any thoughts of learning this game, you need the practice hack. It is an invaluable tool that has built-in inventory editing, built-in presets for the entire NMG run. You can practice different RNGs and set different variables. It is fantastic. So shout out to Pinkus.
I think it's one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, that we have so many skilled runners of this game now, and we have so many sub 130 times on the leaderboards. We almost have 100 people who can beat this game in less than 90 minutes, and that is ridiculous. And that is thanks in large part to the practice hack.
Yep. Also, if you're wanting to learn the game and you want to see the best, I shouldn't say the best possible way, but one of the other best learning tools recently completed by Blunt Bunny was what we have affectionately come to call the God Splice. Using that practice hack, Blunt Bunny played through every room in the game and tied them all together to produce this for us, a human theory. Oh no, Gauntlet went sideways.
Red screen.
That's an unfortunate death. Luckily, he's playing with silvers, so he hasn't used a ton of arrows. The worst thing that happens is you die in Gauntlet and you don't have any arrows to get back through the Mimics rooms, but shouldn't be a problem. But here's where powder comes into play. All right. But yeah, between the practice hack and God Splice, we've got some tutorials and, of course, If you want to learn the game, you can come hang out with us in the Link to the Past Discord. You could also go to the Speed Gaming Discord, it looks like. You could go to the Link to the Past Discord, where pretty much everybody that's active in the community hangs out. We talk about the game, share strats, share things that we found, and we talk about Link to the Past a lot. All right, so Xelnas is taking his second shot through the gauntlet. I wonder if he's going to go and get these fairies just to make sure he's got full health again. Nope. He got him the first time, but 11 hearts. He feels confident. All right, G1 cleared. G2. Through 3. All right, G4. And 5. All right. And he's probably going to take the powder out again and get this bunny beam. Now, by delaying to get that, that means that these first 2 land molas are going to spawn at the same time, making the fight a little bit difficult, but he's going to just use his silver arrows. Very nice. Personally, I find the silver arrow fight with all the lag it generates nearly impossible for me, but that was executed pretty well.
Interesting use of the fire rod here to light all of these torches. I mean, he's not all of them apparently. Okay. Now he's gonna have to switch back to fire rod here.
Yeah, he may not know about the full magic in the next room. Nope, he knows about it. We might just be in a situation where nerves are factoring in.
Totally understandable.
I don't think we're going to see the hover here. But we are going to see the powder. Makes quick work of Moldorm 2.
You'll notice that he couldn't actually change to the.
Of course he did.
Yeah, we won't talk about what just happened there. But you can't actually change to the. You can't actually open the menu period while the boss is exploding there. So you want to change to hookshot before you end up killing him, so you don't have to wait for that time, and then you can just hook across. Yeah, that is correct. NMG stands for Not My Gorilla, Not My Problem.
Xelnas trolling the commentators by picking up what is affectionately known in some communities
I didn't see anything.
as the validation chest.
Gonna see if we can make it a rule on the leaderboards that actually invalidates your speedrun.
That would be a twist. Alright, so now we're gonna see those silver arrows and that gold sword really pay off. Instead of having to do 12 slashes to get through phases 1 and 2, you only need 6. Ganon still does the full amount of damage, so you can't take it too loose. Phase 3 is still 1 slash per.
That's tough. I'm trying to translate this message.
I never got a bottle.
Okay. See, I think he was intending to have a bottle and fairy at this point for this fight. But I think he'll be able to get through it.
I think that's I never got a bottle, oh no.
It's not on hot, are you sure? You got the Xelnas thing in there, man. Stuck in the Ganon loop currently, which happens to absolutely everyone of every skill level at one point or another.
Absolutely. I found myself in the Ganon loop maybe last night. I think I had an incident. Not to imply that I'm a particularly good player, but just to show that I can sympathize. Alright, we're out of phase 2. So the key thing on phase 3 is to try to get your slash in before he jumps so he doesn't set off the ring of bats. He gets it there.
Yeah, coming up here, I don't think we even talked about the torch glitch in the TGH fight, but it's not as important. It's really not important at all with the gold sword silver arrow fight. Since you do only need the 4 arrows to kill him off, it doesn't really require you to get the torch glitch. We see Xelnas not even going for it here, which is good because you don't need to, and you can actually hit him in the middle of the room here and probably get at least 2 arrows, if not 3. Nice!
The triple.
Nicely done there. He's going to finish it off with 1 last arrow here. Last one is always the easiest. GG, Xelnas. Way to go. Way to stick it out, man. Nice run.
Congrats on sticking with it in the face of adversity. Our final race time from Xelnas is a 1:58.16.
I believe that's, I mean, according to his SRC time, which is around 2 hours, I think, that is a PB, but I think he has stated that he has a 1:39 that wasn't recorded that was on console or something, so...
Yeah, he doesn't have an HDMI capture card, and his only console-adjacent way of playing the game is via the SNES Classic, the little $80 deal, so which has, obviously, a little bit less input delay than playing on emulator. So he has an offline 139, but his I believe this would be, as far as the leaderboards are concerned, his official PB. But congrats to sticking it out. We are, let's see what our... So as I said, right now over on Speed Gaming 2, we've got a double feature, WQ versus Resifus and Parisian Player versus Contus. We are also getting set up for actually, it looks like we're gonna have Super Mario Sunshine coming up next on Speed Gaming, and it looks like we're going to have to reschedule the 2:30 race between Nikki Noel and JC due to a personal issue that kind of thought might come up. So we were kind of floating on that one, but looks like we'll still be on for the 8:30 this evening. So I think we are throwing to Super Mario Sunshine, and Xelnas, if you are listening, if you wanted to pop in for a post-race chat, I would. We'll see you in. Did he just? What's going on with my Discord? Hey, there you are. Hey, Xelnas, are you able to unmute yourself, or do I have to unmute you? Well, we're joined by Xelnas, but it shows him on mute. See if he's... I'm on up there. Yep. We had him. He's gone. He's back. Xelnas. Did he just? What's going on with my Discord? Hey, there you are.
So
hey, there you are.
I have to be on push to talk. This will mute me as soon as I unmute it. But yeah, no, I forgot my bottle. I never got bottle. That was weird. I can't believe I didn't notice until then.
When were you going to pick the bottle up, though?
I usually pick it up on my way to the Dark World Kakariko portal.
Oh, okay.
I grabbed the bottle and the net. That's it.
Gotcha. And you just slipped your mind, huh?
I actually was doing okay for me all the way until about Thieves Town. I had 0 blue balls. That was fun.
Nice. I didn't even notice that.
We had a total of 1 blue ball between 2 racers.
That's impressive.
It's pretty
yeah.
ridiculous, actually.
Aga's being friendly, apparently.
Yes.
But yeah, nice run, man. Way to stick it out and finish it out. I know it can be really frustrating when the run isn't going exactly as you want sometimes. So major props for sticking it out and finishing it.
Yeah, GG's on this.
Yeah, I mean, so the chat knows, it's not like the fates put me in the first match against one of the best runners in the tournament, probably the second best runner in the tournament. I intentionally, I got randomized in TGH's group and then intentionally played him first to get out of the way. I'm going to analyze this VOD, listen to Scrivo and Greenham over and over.
What a fate.
I'm sorry. But hopefully we said some useful things that you can maybe pick up on.
But, no, I thought the run was... Actually, I'll be honest, the first time I was like, wait, should I have something here for more magic? I would have had the blue bottle. I usually pick up the blue bottle when I pick up my power.
Oh, right. You mean in T-Rock when you ran out of magic?
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Get backup magic here.
Yeah, that can... I mean, I guess you probably usually use Fire Rod strats for the Pokies anyway, and then just have a blue bottle or something to fill you up.
Yeah, if I run out. But yeah, what I said in chat, I can take abuse like what I saw earlier in chat, but not everyone can, and not everybody is as good as the 1-3-0 runners or the top 32 in this tournament. And that kind of stuff is going... People rewatch their VODs and they read chat, and if they see that, they might just quit. And that is not something that anybody wants. So, like...
Yeah, I mean, I know that can be very discouraging to see, so, I mean, we would like as little of that in the chat as possible, but I don't think we'll ever entirely eliminate it, so I think it's best to just try to ignore those people, if at all possible, who aren't really contributing anything positive to the conversation.
Especially like the good chatters, don't even acknowledge those people is like the best way to do it.
Yeah, just so everybody understands how we went ahead and put this tournament together is that it was open entry. All you had to do to get into the tournament was show us that you can beat the game according to the NMG rule set. Post a PB on speedrun.com and be one of the first 128 people to sign up and do that and join the Discord. Beyond that, we have people that, like, literally their first run completed ever of the game was the run that they used to qualify for the tournament. So, you know, we have a wide variety of skill levels. We took those 128 people that met those very minimal requirements. We put them in buckets, 1 through 32, 33 through 64, 65 through 96, and 97 through 128. And then we randomly drew one person from each bucket into each group. And yes, that means that sometimes you get a group that has a 125 player and somebody that literally just learned the game. Some of the groups are much closer and much tighter. And you're going to see a wide variety, but the one thing that I, you know, when I opened up the Discord for this tournament, one of the first things that I wanted to make sure everybody was clear on is we're here to play video games, and that should be fun. And that's all that really matters. If you played the game and you had fun, then technically you met your goal, and that means you won. So you may not have won on speedracing.tv, but if you got to hang out, learn a game, and like have fun, that's really all you should shoot for. So
amen to that, dude.
I mean, I joke with Elminster all the time that, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna go, like, I'll get angry at another game and play NMG, and then he'll joke, oh man, I don't need, because a lot of the top runners obviously play this almost too much.
Yeah.
I love playing through Link to the Past. This is by far my favorite game of all time.
Okay. All right. Well, I think for right now that wraps it up for us. So choose your own adventure. If you would like to see more Link to the Past, you may head on over to Speed Gaming 2, where that double match is happening.
Already there.
If you would like to see Mario, you can stick around here on Speed Gaming for the Super Mario Sunshine Tournament. And of course, in some form or fashion, we will be back with you throughout the day with more Link to the Past, and throughout probably the next 2 months. I expect this tournament to take about 2 months, hoping to get through the groups in 1 month, the brackets in another, and then we'll all talk about Zelda and have a great time. So I want to thank the racers again. Congratulations, TGH, on the victory. Congratulations to Xelnas for sticking it out through the adversity. Thank you to once again, the brains behind this operation. I'm just a guy that likes to talk a lot. He's a guy that can actually make things happen. So thank you, Greenham, for hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks again to Feasel and Speed Gaming. I have been and will continue to be Scrivo. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.